that taught me. I kept asking my body, what's going on? What's the lesson here? And it seemed to me that was the lesson, that it was, you can be comfortable, you can be even happy with discomfort, and that's where the growth comes. You have to get through that discomfort. You need that journey. That has to be part of the journey in order to find the growth that will get you to that place of feeling that much more comfortable in yourself and knowing who you truly are.
Hello, beautiful people. Yes, I am talking to you. Are you ready to feel confident AF, free from the expectations and opinions of others, and create ultimate self-trust in who you are, what you say, and how you show up in every part of your life? If you answered a hell yes, I am, I guarantee this episode will empower you to be 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed. It's time for you to strut your stuff, express yourself with freedom, and fully embrace every freaking fabulous part of you. Let's dive in. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to another episode of Road to Radical Visibility. My name is Rachel Freemon Sowers, your host, and I am passionate about helping people in the LGBTQ plus and female communities break free from the social constructs, beliefs, and opinions that have held them back from being 100% themselves, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed. And you, my friend, are in for another freaking fabulous story. You can see I have a guest here. I love giving these little teasers where you see the guest, but you just don't know quite enough yet. But you're going to want to stick around to the end of this episode if you want to feel inspired to really be living your life exactly the way that you want to be showing up in your business and or your professional life the way that you want to, because today's story is going to be remarkable and empowering to you. All right, so I have one of my business besties here, Jen Walker. I'm going to read to you her intro because I don't want to leave anything out. So here we go. Jen Walker is a copywriter, messaging coach, and soul explorer. Jen's been changing minds with word power for a couple of decades now. First, as a kids' science book author and editor, and now as a conscious copywriter, working with A-list stars in the online education world like James Wedmore, Jim Fortin, Christina Gindali, and Brandon Lucero. Oh, and all that is so good, but this is one of my favorite parts. She's also a professional stage actor and speaker. Hello, my people. So you can be sure that she knows a thing or two about connecting with an audience and shifting thinking through compelling storytelling. Thank you, my friend, for being here. I'm so grateful. I can't wait to dive in.
Oh, Rachel, thank you. I am just so thrilled to be here. Honestly, this is such a treat. Thank you.
So the first question I ask every single one of my guests is, what does radical visibility mean to you?
Yeah, I love it. It's such a huge thing, isn't it? It's for me, it really does mean showing up as your true, vibrant, whole self. And while I totally appreciate that might sound kind of, I don't know, a bit of a cliche, or even kind of like, yeah, sure, but what does that actually mean? I think I am discovering more and more daily what that actually means, because what it entails really is really rooting down to find what is that true, that core essence of yourself. And it's a life's work, a lifetime's work, really, to do that, because there's so many layers that are covering it up. All of our conditioning, all of our upbringing, all of the roles that we play, all the things that we've been taught really to believe about ourselves, and it's only with a really conscious intention. I think that we can start to unfurl and unpeel and tease away all those layers to find what it is that we really are about, and speak from that place and feel the freedom of being able to show up wholly in that place without, as you say, without any guilt or shame or judgment, and as I say, feel the freedom of that. And it's a work in progress for me.
Always.
Anyway. I am really not there yet, but I'm so enjoying the journey of that unfurling.
Well, I think you and I both know, and as you're working with people through copywriting or maybe editing their book or things like that, and me in this journey of unfolding, for people in our generation, there's a lot of things. There are a lot of things. And I think specifically for women in our generation, you know, that are multi-layered, that we have not been taught to do for ourselves, been modeled, you know, for us to really expand into this truest self that we're looking for. And absolutely. I love how you said that it is essential to have this intentional journey within, because that's when we find the most fulfilling life. And there may be ups and downs to this. Like, don't get me wrong, peeps. This isn't all like, oh, I'm enlightened all the time and I feel so great. Like, yes, but there are times when like, yes, you know, this is how this whole interview is going to go. So if you're watching, if you're listening on the podcast, you should really head over to the video, because this is going to be a crack up the whole time. But it's just kind of like, it's really finding that part of yourself. And I was never taught, well, actually I was semi-taught, but I was never taught to find this journey for myself. And so there's things that we do and shifts that we want to make when we find that things are no longer helpful. So I know that you've been shifting your business a little bit over the last few years. You've definitely been becoming more expansive in your professional life as an actor, right? And an editor, and in your personal life, having some of these shifts. One of the things I want to make sure to touch on, first of all, because it's always been a dream of mine. So I'm not saying that I'm totally envious, but I will have a little bit of jelly. Like, I'm a little bit jealous because I watched a documentary of it. But you recently went on this like little hike. Okay, well, let's just call it what it is. Like, you went on this pilgrimage. Tell me, what was the catalyst for going on this pilgrimage, and tell us what it was. Oh, wow.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, the pilgrimage is the Camino, which I'm sure many listeners will have perhaps heard of. But just to elaborate a little, the Camino de Santiago is a pilgrimage route, a walking route. Well, I say a route. There are actually multiple routes. All of them end up in Santiago de Compostela in northwestern Spain. The most frequently used route these days is the Camino de Frances, which starts in the south of France and goes through the Pyrenees and then across the northern part of Spain to Santiago. But there are routes from Portugal. You can start in anywhere in the world, basically, but like England, Germany, wherever. And this route is hundreds of years old, and originally it was a Catholic pilgrimage route, and people went on pilgrimage for all kinds of reasons, but in those days primarily religious reasons, and it'd be about kind of penitence and so on, or discovery. These days it's had a bit of a resurgence in recent years, but it's very much a way of marking or celebrating or giving yourself space to feel into some important aspect of your life, of your growth. And certainly that's what it was for me. And so to answer your question, what kind of triggered this, what sparked this desire to want to do this? I was actually in Santiago de Compostela about 9 years ago. I was doing, at that time, I was still working as an editor for publishing companies around the world, but I was freelance. I was working as a science editor. But it wasn't at this point kind of fully satisfying to me, and I knew that there was more. I knew that there was more for me out there, and I needed to develop in some way, but I really didn't have much clue how at that time. I also felt very kind of stagnant in my personal life, and just in general, things were not feeling as they should. And this was about 9 years ago, so I was in my early 40s then. And I went to Santiago as a field trip, as part of a language course that I was doing. It was a bachelor's in modern language studies. And Spanish was part of it. So I was there to learn Spanish, or to be immersed in Spanish, effectively. And that's where I learned about the pilgrimage. It was the first time I'd ever heard of it. And lots of the content that we were using for our language studies was around the pilgrimage itself. And I remember thinking at the time, God, that would be such an incredible thing to be able to do. And I was seeing pilgrims arrive in Santiago just by the cathedral there, which is it's just mind-blowing, this building, honestly. I mean, I'm not a Catholic, and I'm not actually practicing any specific religion, but I went in that cathedral and I cried. I literally was moved to tears. It was just the kind of actually, this happened several times on Camino, that I was moved to tears just through the sheer sort of presence of the human endeavor and effort and energy that I felt all around me all the time. But anyway, to skirt back, when I was in Santiago that time, I was, as I say, in a bit of a hole, bit of a bad place. I was very depressed, and work and personal life were feeling very, very closed down for me. And I was seeing all these pilgrims arriving in Santiago. I felt like a total fake at that time, because here I was, I just landed in Santiago, like almost on a vacation. And these people had like walked across Europe to get there. And so part of me was thinking, I don't deserve to be here, you know. And it was this sense of kind of being a fake in my own life that really, really kind of settled with me at that time. But I didn't actually at that moment have any kind of real ambition to do the Camino in a real way. But it was the idea was definitely kind of planted at that point. And then over the years, various changes have happened in my life, and I broke away from my work with educational publishers and actually started my business as a copywriter. And this was a huge step forward for me in my own personal growth and so on. And the growth has continued, the exploration of finding what it is that I'm here for, and helping other people through copywriting and messaging to unfurl more of their true selves so that they can be more of themselves in their business has been a huge part of it. And then just lately, literally, I was in an acting class here in Evergreen, an improv class, in fact. Improv is something that terrifies me, and therefore I felt like I needed to do it. So for a couple of years I was in this class, and a friend of mine in the class is a life coach and a wild wisdom coach. She calls herself. She's very much connected with the earth, Mother Earth, and so on. She was telling me about that she was leading this Camino. She was leading with a friend of hers, a group of people walking the Camino. And so I thought, oh my goodness, this is just, thank you, universe. This is my opportunity to actually do this. And so basically, very long story short, that's how I accepted this amazing opportunity to do it. And it has been an incredible experience at a time in my life where I really needed it. It's just opened up so much for me.
So how, I'm going to get back to the kind of the spiritual journey that you had, but how many miles did you actually go?
Right. Well, the whole of the Camino de Frances is about 500 kilometers. We walked, in miles, that's around about 400, let's say. Okay. 400 miles. But we just walked the last kind of quarter or so of that. So we walked, I think it was around about, we didn't actually add it all up, we should have done, shouldn't we? But around about 80 something miles. Okay.
So the reason I'm asking that, because if you're listening to this or watching the show, you do not have to ride either over 360 miles on a bicycle or hike 80 some odd miles to have your own journey, right? A lot of times we'll go get a tattoo, we'll go get our hair cut, we'll do whatever. Like, those things are fine too. So I just want to make sure, but if you're feeling called to this and you are ready to do something, in your life, and I think around our age, we go in for a reset, for a level up, for a next phase, right? And that really turns into something really intrinsic. And I also want to honor your journey about you were in this place. And this is what happens with trauma and unresolved trauma. You're in this place, you're at one place, and then you go back to revisit the place to heal the thing that that wasn't able to be healed. So there was something stunted at that point. What made you decide, and this has to do with radical visibility, because when we show up as ourselves fully vulnerable and fully out to even say like, I can hike 80 some odd miles and I can be open to what I'm going to find there. That's radical visibility too, right? It's not always just showing yourself off to everybody, right? But it's really this internal way of being.
Oh, yes.
How has this helped you see yourself even more in how you want to interact in the world?
Oh my God, this is huge. Yeah, absolutely. Let me start by saying one of the things that the group of which I was a part, the guides kind of framed our journey a little bit around the hero's journey, if you're familiar with that. So there was a sense in which we were called to action. We were called to this thing to do, and then before we kind of crossed the threshold and actually sort of started the actual walking, there was a period of severance, of letting go, of kind of understanding what it was that we wanted to let go of in order to then walk through the underworld, so to speak, and undergo that dark night of the soul and that real kind of honesty with yourself and being radically visible to yourself, a real understanding of what is actually going on in there before you then kind of come out and bring that elixir of what you've kind of learned, what you've discovered back into the real world. So there's that kind of cyclical aspect to it. And what I found that through this whole process that I wanted to let go of were sort of two things, really. First of all, there was I, like many women, have lived my life from a place of believing that I'm here really to make other people feel better. I'm almost literally a comfort animal. That's what I'm here for. And that my sense of worth is therefore related to the degree to which I'm making other people feel better. At the denigration, potentially, of myself. Yeah. And this literally is what I discovered was kind of almost what I was born for. I mean, I won't go into details.
Well, and what we're told we're born for, right? Well, I mean, like, we don't come out of the womb saying, please let me self-sacrifice myself to the point where I don't love myself and all I am is good to other people and I have no value for myself, right?
Exactly. But this is exactly what happens to so many of us. So part of what I wanted to let go of was that belief that I'm literally here just to serve other people in terms of making them feel better, because I was becoming aware that every time I did that was another betrayal of myself. Potentially, not always, but oftentimes I was constantly, and the shame associated with that actually,
yes.
You don't necessarily recognize it at the time, but it builds and builds and builds, and so that you totally distrust yourself because you know you're gonna sacrifice yourself, you know you're gonna betray yourself in order to make other people feel better.
Right.
And to be fair, in the moment, because that's what we're taught we're there for, it kind of feels good to make other people feel better. That's our kickback. That's our validation. In the world, that's what we're here for. But I was becoming more and more aware that that's what was happening. I was betraying myself constantly. The other thing that I was becoming aware of was that in the life where the situation in which I found myself, very comfortable, kind of middle-aged life, with my kids kind of doing okay, and work all right, and husband all good, that I was very, very comfortable, but actually deeply unhappy. And I knew that I had to go. Something had to change. Somewhere. Always from within, but something had to shift in order for me to get to a place where I wasn't constantly feeling like I was betraying myself and feeling stuck and unhappy. So, but I was very much aware that I would have to move through this dark night of the soul, this period of possibly intense discomfort to get there. So the other thing I wanted to let go of was this fear of discomfort, fear of the unknown, and fear of upsetting other people. Well, primarily. So,
and let me just interject here, this takes an immense amount of courage and bravery and commitment to self. It is an essential part to becoming radically visible in your life and living your life exactly the way that you want to. And your courage to do that. And I mean, it will often come developmentally at this age that we're at. I'm 50. Yes. I don't know, you're in the same age bracket as me. Yeah, it comes to holy shit, I have maybe 50 years left to live. And I have to say, what is it going to be for now? Right. And so these two things that you discovered and that we're now becoming aware of are essential to your life now. Like those are from the knowledge of within, the wise one within that says, hey, we don't want to live without these things anymore.
No, absolutely. I mean, literally, it was getting to the stage where I thought I literally cannot go on. Something has to shift in a radical way, even though I know it's going to hurt. And it does take an amount of courage to do this. And I'm kind of in the mix right at the moment. And it's but it's interesting because it feels like a real relief to be in this place and actually getting down and dirty with it, or getting radically visible to myself, and getting to that place where, certainly this is what I'm working towards, as I say, finding that trust in myself. Because once you can be radically visible to yourself and hold that, then it feels to me you can trust your decisions. You can trust that your decisions from that place will be in your interest, will be for your highest good. Once you are fully aware of who you are, what you're here for, then you can make decisions that are in alignment with that, as opposed to constantly, as I found I was doing, making decisions and choices that often were bad decisions and choices from a point of view of wanting to get that kickback of validation from the outside, and therefore betraying myself constantly.
Well, and there's these moments becoming radically visible to self. I mean, as you well know, through, this new 100% You membership that I'm building, it is about having this awareness. This is about being able to listen to your truest self and your exact journey, and saying like, this is essential in my life, and knowing that does matter. Right. And it takes some fortitude, and honestly, it takes the ability to be comfortable with discomfort. Yeah. And that representation. Yes. Right.
Ooh, yeah. There's something interesting that, sorry,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you're mentioning it there again of the becoming comfortable with discomfort. That was something that came up for me in quite a really embodied way on the Camino as I was walking. We walked consistently. We walked we walked a little bit for the first 2 days, but then had a little bus to take us to the next place, because we couldn't cover the distances just by walking. And then for the last 6 days, we walked every day. So it was that was a challenge. That was a challenge with a heavy pack, with all our stuff and so on. Now, before I'd set out, before I'd left the States, in fact, I pinched a nerve or something, didn't know quite what was going on, but I had this kind of chronic pain in my shoulder that was kind of referred down my arm. I had this weakness, I had this tingling, this numbness, and I was thinking, thank you, universe. Oh my goodness, this is not a great time for this to happen. But it was really interesting because as soon as I started walking, actually, the pain did go away completely, but it was still very much there, but it kind of dissipated. And that just gave me a sense of kind of, I don't know, the freedom and the rightness of what I was doing just felt so good because of that. But also, I realized that even though I was in pain, and this was a challenge, and this was uncomfortable, I was probably happier than I've ever been in my life during those 6 days of what was physical hardship, really, physical challenge that was uncomfortable, and yet I could be super happy. I mean, really, like, next level, expansively happy in that time as well. And that taught me, I kept asking my body, what's going on? What's the lesson here? And it seemed to me that was the lesson, that it was, you can be comfortable, you can be even happy with discomfort, and that's where the growth comes. You have to get through that discomfort. You need that journey. That has to be part of the journey in order to find the growth that will get you to that place of feeling that much more comfortable in yourself and knowing who you truly are. So, yeah.
When you were talking about that, I'm just going to share the image I got. So people that work with me or people that know me, like, Jen, I get these images that come to me and, I get messages sometimes and stuff like that. But literally the image that I got, and this is going to sound so cliche too, but it's just your wings breaking through your skin. And kind of this, this is my time of expansiveness. Right. And it's so many different symbolic moments that you've talked about already that are just about, you said expansive a lot. And I think this is what's really important if you are looking to work with a coach or even a professional like you, a copywriter, stuff like that. People that have gone on these journeys themselves are going to help you go on your journey in the way that they do it. Like for you, the copywriting, even like you and I have worked together on copywriting, and you've encouraged me to even be more out there. Yes, I know some of you are like, what? Rachel Freeman Sowers more out there? But yes, don't wait. There is still a whole bunch of good shiz coming your way. But it's just more. And it's because I want to be expansive. Jen has been expansive in her own journey. And it's really essential when you're surrounding yourself, how you surround yourself with these kinds of people. Right.
Can I just say something, my darling woman? Before we started walking, I have my notebook here that I had on Camino.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Well, my intention, I was writing kind of my intention. So this is before even a lot of the learnings were coming to me. But what I wrote was my Camino intention. I am the one who is shaking and breaking the encasement of old rules, beliefs, patterns, conventions, and giving space for my beloved identity, my core, my essence, my wholeness to emerge and fly. And I just remembered that as you were talking about wings, because I'm breaking through my stiff shoulder.
Well, and it's knowing that the discomfort is not the thing that will end you. It's training the nervous system to say that this discomfort is not a return to my trauma. I am safe here. I am safe in my knowing and that trusting. And you never, just for those of you that are listening or watching, you will never arrive at the fullest trust. Every single moment is an ultimate trust moment. And it's through those very small moments and decisions that you then feel it more consistently over and over and over. And you learn to trust yourself in every freaking decision, no matter what may come of it. And, my wife is no stranger to me saying this multiple times. I would not ever want my wife to leave me, but if she did, I would be okay. I would be able to sit through that discomfort. I would be able to grieve and mourn. And I've thought about this a lot, and I say it often. But it's not something I would really want, and I would be hurt. And yet through that, I would still be okay. And I would still be able to live my life in a way that by the time I die on my deathbed, I'm saying I have no regrets.
Oh God. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. To feel that kind of strength and again, trust. It keeps coming back in my mind to trust in yourself that yes, you are safe. You are okay. You are whole in yourself. And while it is obviously wonderful and super important to connect with other people and to be part of this gorgeous interconnected web of energy and love and uplift, nevertheless, each of us at each of those nodes of that network is whole in ourselves. And to be able to feel that wholeness rather than, as I've certainly experienced in my life, the kind of codependency of relying on others for validation all the time, that to reestablish that wholeness and that sense of security in yourself, I think is what we're all about, what we need to be working towards, because that way we can be that much more, actually, ironically, kind of paradoxically, we can give more to others from that place than if we're, they're relying on us for that, or we're relying on them for that, if you see what I mean. It's huge. It's everything.
Well, it's like you said in your journey, and the hero's journey is something that I've loved in psychology forever, right? And now
Yes.
it comes out even more in the things that I do. But, some people call it that dark night of the soul. It's also associated with the hermit. And when the hermit goes up into the mountains and spends time by himself and starts becoming his own awareness and his own consciousness and tapping into those things. And it leads you to becoming your own guide. And then you're able to find the guide like you did and trust yourself, like, oh no, this thing that they're doing, I want to be a part of that. And then the decisions become easy because you know what that feels like to have this calm, ultimate trust, knowing in your body, right? It's not an accident that we either don't move our body enough, we move our body way too much, like addiction to movement, always like, and I've been there. But also finding this balance of moving these emotions through the body, not forgetting that below this chin, there is a whole magnificent system that is waiting to be discovered and waiting to be reconnected to. And I think that's what you like. You needed that, and you're like, I want that, so I'm going to go do it.
Oh gosh, so much there. Yeah, absolutely. And so the very act of walking. I mean, our longest day was 18 miles. I think our shortest day was 8 miles. So the 18 miles, that's a challenging distance to walk. But just the rhythm of walking, it is challenging, but it's not, as you say, it's not like kind of some really heavy kind of intense workout where you're just pushing. You are actually in this rhythm that allows the wisdom that is in your body to be felt, to bubble up, to kind of connect with the mind, the heart. It's all it all comes to the fore, and all sorts of things start to come up, and the connection that I also felt as I was walking through this amazing landscape was beautiful. That sense of walking this path that had been walked by thousands of feet before me, and you could see that the path was literally worn away into the ground. As I sort of mentioned earlier, that the sense of that, the human energy and love and dedication and devotion that was kind of part of that. But as the metaphor that came to me was as the path was being sort of worn down into Mother Earth, ever further towards the core. It was almost like each step for me was taking me closer to my core, or revealing more of my core to me as I step. And also the other thing about walking, which I wholly recommend, as a meditative and contemplative exercise in any case, it occurred to me that as I was walking, I could feel the earth beneath my feet. I had my hiking boots on, but they're fairly lightweight, so I could feel a lot of the earth between my feet, and it occurred to me that in itself was a sort of metaphor for trust, because each time I put my foot forward and it landed on the earth, I trusted that the earth would be there to support me, and it was. It gave willingly. It gave without condition. The support was there for me without asking. It was given gladly, and so you learn to trust that every step you take will be supported by the earth. And it occurred to me that is a great metaphor for the way that, as we've already spoken about, how we can trust that each decision we make will be supported because it's coming from a true whole place of because we can see ourselves in that radically visible way that is from wholeness and not from seeking validation from anywhere else.
Well, you and I can talk about this all day, because it's very much the same thing on the bike. It's this rhythmic 1, 2,
yes.
1, 2. It's trusting through the whole over 360 miles on the highway, on so many different things, miles of downhill, miles of uphill, that I am here to do this. I'm trusting myself that I can do the next step, the next pedal stroke, the next awareness, the next beautiful thing that our bodies are waiting to connect with us on. I mean, when I don't know about you, but when I'm on the bike, when I'm working out, my body speaks to me very loudly, and I come up with such beautiful, quote unquote, downloads.
Yes.
Like even when I'm hiking, I went hiking with my friend Deb, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to be talking into this recording because I get all these things, and they're freaking brilliant things because I'm moving, I'm allowing this expansion, this release, and this acceptance.
Absolutely. Kind of, you let it in, you let it be, you let it go. It's that kind of constant flow and cycle, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So I have one more question, but before I say that, ask that question. If you're listening to this episode and you're like, holy F, or dang it, I want some of that, I want to let you know, and I'm getting closer to the mic if you're listening to the podcast, you can have it. It is possible for you. And I know it may not seem like it right now, but it totally is. And if you're like, how do I get that? I want you to reach out to me. Put a message below in the comments of this video, or DM me if you're listening to the podcast. Let Jen and I know, and I'll share these messages with her. What is it about that really truly inspired you to begin to create this ultimate trust in yourself every single day, every moment of the day? And you know, I don't know how else to say, but the only thing you need to do is play with the possibility that it can be true for you. That's the only thing. We're just going to entertain and play with the possibility that you can feel exactly the way that you want to. That if you want to go on a journey like Jen and I did, then you can do that no matter what age you are, no matter how much trauma you've experienced, no matter what has been told to you. It is absolutely possible for you. So that's my little inspirational shtick. Like that's my little thing there. But I wanted to ask you, Jen, for other women specifically who may not believe that they can do something that they've always wanted to do, or they're too old, or they're too busy, or they don't have something, what would you tell them?
Well, oh my goodness. Well, I wanted to share in that context is that the other women that were on the Camino with me, there were three slightly older women who were, one had just recently had a stroke and was recovering. One had terrible knee problems and was walking with a brace, and one was quite a lot older as well. We all had our challenges in different ways, but we all made space for each other, and there was space. You know, the Camino is just one example, but the almost like I was saying just now, the earth supports you. You are supported in these decisions. Trust that you will be supported. And if you choose to do it, the support will be there for you. And that's what happened for all of us on Camino. So that for each of those women, each of those ladies had their own Camino, their own experience in the way that made such a difference for them. So we were in community together, and we were each walking our own Camino. And we saw other people on the trail who were in wheelchairs, literally being pushed by relatives in wheelchairs and so on. The possibilities are there. For all of us, no matter what we've experienced before, no matter our age, no matter our physical abilities right now, trust that you will be. I know it comes back to that trust again, but you will be supported. You make the decision and take that first step. Put your foot out there. It will be met gladly and willingly, without demand by the universe, by the earth. By Mother Earth. You will be supported, and honestly, you will not regret it. And I wanted to say also, you mentioned earlier about revisiting sort of sites of trauma potentially. When I got back to Santiago, some 9 years after I'd been there in such a state before, it was only then really that I finally understood why I'd done this journey, because the kind of sense of not living the life I was meant to, not being visible to myself, not being authentic really to myself, the fake sense of my life that I had that was causing such depression, that those 9 years ago, I felt that I suddenly recognized that, and in the fullest way. And as I say, always work in progress, still working on this, but it became clear to me that was why I'd come back, to understand that it was getting back to myself, coming home to myself, that I needed to experience. So yeah, it was a kind of another full cycle thing. Yeah. Don't you love cycles?
Yes. And they're everywhere. It's the full, like we're going through cycles in multiple different areas. Well, my friend, again, like we could talk all day long, as you and I both know. I just want to tell you how grateful I am from my heart for you coming on the road to radical visibility and sharing your story and being open and honest and radically visible to yourself, so that we could all witness this beautiful thing in you, and that is you. So if anyone is wondering how they can communicate with you or find you, whether for copywriting services or just to say how much they were inspired by you, can you let us know where people can find you on the online world, in the online world?
The online world, absolutely. My website is just ginwalker.com, and that's gin as in the drink, Gin.
My favorite, just FYI.
Yeah. And on the socials, on Facebook and on Instagram, which is mainly where I live, my handle is @copygenie. So that's COPYGENIE. Yes, I'm the Copy Genie.
And I'll have all the links down below in the YouTube description and in the description for the podcast. So feel free to reach out to either of us. I will say thank you again so much, my friend. It's been such pure joy having you here. I'll end this video like I end every single video. Please make sure to stay true to yourself, be kind to others, and always, always, always honor the wise one that is within you. I will see you all on the next road to radical visibility. Until then, bye. Hold up, don't go yet. If this episode inspired you to be 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed, even just that little bit more, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. I'm here, and I know you are too, to make a positive impact in the world. So don't forget to share the love. And if you were left wanting more of this type of kick-ass content, then don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. Until next time, make sure to stay true and be you. Until then, bye.